And welcome to the third hour of American Agenda. I'm Bob Sellers.
And I'm Heather Childers, and we're now joined by our family of co-hosts, chairwoman for the Nevada State GOP and Republican strategist, Amy Tarkanian. GOP strategist and Newsmax columnist John Burnett will eventually join us, but also there you have the author of 13 and a Half Reasons Not to Be a Liberal. Of course, that's Judd Dunning. Welcome to everyone, and John, like I said, will join us shortly.
The sequel to it's got to be called 13 and a Half More Reasons, right, Judd? I mean,
oh, we've got another book in the pipe, people. There's so much to talk about.
I know. I was going to say you got to pick a number every day. Oh, we got to change the title again. All right, former president.
Exponential.
Okay, for exponential, I like it. Former President Trump's revival tour, if you will, starting tomorrow in North Carolina as the keynote speaker at the Republican Party's national convention, kicking off with plenty of speakers. But the main question surrounding the event is if Mr. Trump will reveal another run for the presidency in 2024. Didn't he tweet?
Yes,
say
that's
something
coming
earlier?
up later in the show. So
Okay.
a little tease about that. He did say something about it.
Okay, so that's a tease right there. So, Amy, let's talk about what can we expect from the president. What do you think he's going to be talking about? What do you think his purpose is?
Wow. Well, I think he actually is going to have a lot to say, especially now that Facebook once again has solidified their stance and keeping him off of their social media platform for another 2 years until January 7th after the midterms. So he's going to talk about that, I'm sure. There was also a tweet that was retweeted by one of his members, oh my gosh, Jason Miller.
Jason Miller.
And he confirmed my question when the blog was taken down, or the website was taken down from the desk of 45, if it was a precursor to a new social media platform. And he did confirm it. So I'm sure we will hear more about that. So that's exciting. And I think that this just further solidifies the fact that he is basically the head of the Republican Party, and the Make America Great Again movement is still strong.
Yeah. Judd, what do you think?
Look, I think most people didn't even know about it because Trump is so canceled now that I actually had to Google Iran to find out he was speaking in North Carolina, right? It's amazing how repressed information about Trump still is. If you look at the news, it's really buried down there. Look, I think North Carolina is be exciting. I mean, look, he won clearly in North Carolina, like 50.7 to 48.6. North Carolinians love him. By the way, I'm from the Tar Heel State, so hello to Highlands, North Carolina. I grew up in a town of 400 there. And, North Carolinians knew. I mean, look, he built a strong military. He came through in his promises. He turned around the economy. A lot of North Carolinians are very rational people. So I don't know if he's going to leak it out that he'll be, we all know he could go there, but I think he might step aside for anybody else. I think he really would put America first. And that's why we love President Trump.
Heather, I feel like North Carolina keeps just getting closer and closer.
Yes, and don't you love it?
I do like the Tar Heel State. I do. Yeah. I do.
Now, it'll be interesting because obviously we also know that Senator Richard Burr is retiring, as we spoke about earlier. So lots of folks have thrown their hat into the ring to try to run for the Senate seat there, not the least of which was the possibility of the former president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. So it'll be interesting to see if anything is said about that as well.
Yeah. John, good to have you here. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow night? The president, and by the way, we will be carrying it live. We'll tell you more about that, but it'll be live here on Newsmax. So what do you think, John?
I think it'll at least go an hour and a half, right? That's what he owes us. It's been so long.
It's been a while.
The thing is, and there's so much material for him to cover, right? It's not about the 2020 election. It's going to be about the current economic environment, right? Speaking directly to the working class American and the forgotten men and women all across this country, namely gas prices alone, energy policy, in terms of wages, in terms of small business, in terms of even Vice President Harris convening business leaders to create jobs in other countries. This is crazy. Nothing speaks more to America first than the creation of jobs onshore. So he's going to attack so many policies coming from the Biden campaign. He's going to actually make the argument why the GOP is the only party that has American interests first.
Yeah, something interesting to me, Amy. Facebook came out today and said, you know what, we're going to, it's not going to be forever as a ban on the president, but it'll be for 2 years. But what I find interesting about that takes him through the midterms at a time where he could actually have more of a voice, certainly on Facebook.
Sure. And they intentionally chose January 7th as the day after January 6th, as the so-called insurrection took place on the Capitol, on the day that they confirmed the election for President Biden. So this is just their way of saying, hey, we're in control of you, buddy. And they're basically being jerks. I mean, let's just be honest. So I think that President Trump should actually have a big sign instead of saying "Make America Great Again" or "America First." It should just say "I told you so," because everything that Joe just relayed is coming to fruition, coming to the forefront of everything that he actually implemented and tried to put into place during his one term. Is now we're finding he was right.
Yeah, and one thing, Jed, that strikes me is Facebook, big tech, social media. They really are political now. I mean, you can't doubt that by some of these, like Amy was just saying, January 7th, wink, wink.
Yeah, well, look, I just tweeted out we should boycott Facebook for 2 years. I'm disinterested anymore. And by the way, we've gone from like thousands and thousands of views to like 4 or 5 views since I started talking about election integrity in the fall. We're trying to get on to other people. I'm calling Arizona moms saying, retweet this for us, please, because I'm writing about the vaccine. I mean, we are deeply shadow banned right now. It's why it's great to be on your network here, you know. And it's ironic, right? Fauci still gets to use Facebook. Did he cause an insurrection? No, he actually caused death. I mean, right? And there's a really imbalanced level there. And what's happening with Parler, which is the management's rolling over. Twitter is isolating the algorithms there. It's really, really serious what's happened to free speech. What DeSantis is doing in Florida, holding them liable, is a great beginning, but we need to continue to march against big tech. It's never been so serious.
All right.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.